Hej and welcome to Fun Swedish! Ni fick ingen video förra veckan. Vi hade påsklov. Har ni saknat oss? Vi har saknat er. All these sentences have something in common. They're all using something called personliga pronomen, personal pronouns, which are these words. And today we're going to do a deep dive into all of them. The first type of personal pronoun is the one that tells us who is conducting the action, who is the main character, who does the thing. For example, jag äter köttbullar. I eat meatballs. Jag would be here the main character, the one who is eating the meatballs. In grammar language, this is called the subject. Another example is this one. Jag gillar dig. I like you. It is I who is doing the liking. And talking about liking, don't forget to put a like on this video. So, let's look a little bit closer to this jag. Jag is the Swedish I. And in Swedish, we have a tendency to drop the G in the end. We don't pronounce it. That's why we say ja instead of saying jag. So remember, ja. Jag gillar dig. It actually sounds a little bit like you're saying ja, which is the Swedish yes. I've heard some people say shag or chag, but no, here you just need to relax, put down your jaw and say ja, ja. Consider that the Swedish J sounds a little bit like the English Y, so that's why we need to say ja, ja. Then we have du. You, at least the first you. Du äter köttbullar. You eat meatballs. Here it is du, you, the one who is eating the köttbullar. Du is you, but only for one person, the singular version of you. We know that in other languages, like in Spanish, you have a more formal you and a more informal you. But not in Swedish. We have just one you, and that is du. We use the informal version for everyone. Your boss, older people, your best friend, they're all du. In Sweden, we actually had a more formal version of du. But then we had something called du-reformen. The du-reformen took place in the mid-60s. We decided on making everyone a little bit more equal, have less hierarchy in our society, and call everyone du. However, there's one person who we still don't say du to, and that is the Swedish king. So if you're gonna meet the Swedish king, then you're gonna say instead Ers Majestät. But for the rest of the society, it is du. Next personal pronoun. Han. Han is he. Han gillar dig. He likes you. A lot of people mix up han with hon. He with she. A classic mistake is that you want to talk about your boyfriend, han, but you end up saying hon, which confuses Swedes into thinking that you're dating a girl when you're actually dating a guy, or the other way around. A tip that might help you remember and stop making this mistake is to think about Han Solo from Star Wars, who is obviously a han. Then, on the other hand, we have hon, which means she. Hon gillar dig. She likes you. But to make things less confusing, or more confusing, we also have a third one, hen. Hen is a gender-neutral version of han and hon. This one is used when you don't want to define a gender, or if you don't know the gender. Hen gillar dig. This is quite a new word, and not everyone uses it, but it's getting more popular. And last but not least, it in Swedish can be either den or det. It is den when you're referring to something that is an N word, and det when you're referring to something that is an et word, which we'll talk more about in a future video. So, those were the singular, personal pronouns. Let's move on to the plurals, but before we do that, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Vi skulle bli jätteglada. We would be very happy. And talking about we, let's talk about vi. Vi is how we say we in Swedish. The pronunciation of the E is very nasal. It's almost like you're doing like this, vi. Especially in Stockholm, vi. And you might have noticed that in Swedish we don't use so much the letter W. We prefer to use the vi. But in any case, vi works like the English we. Some languages, such as Spanish, have different genders in this version. For women they have a special word and for men another word. But not in Swedish, we use vi for both genders. The next personal pronoun is ni. Ni har gillat den här videon, va? Ni is the second version of you, the plural you. Before the du-reformen, ni was the former version we used to address to certain people, but not any longer. Now ni is only used as the plural version of you. Then we have dom. De äter pasta. They eat pasta. It's written like this, but it's always pronounced as dom. Always think dom 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 dom. Some people even write it as dom, but it's actually not correct. But it's getting more and more accepted. Let's review this first part. Take up your fingers and repeat after me. Jag, du, han, hon, vi, ni, dom. Then I also need to teach you how to say things like him and her. These are also personal pronouns, but when it works like an object in a sentence. This tells us who is the victim, who is the receiver of the action, who is the object. For example, we said before, jag gillar dig. The dig in this case is the receiver of the liking, of the love. So they works as you, when you're receiving the thing, not doing the thing. This might sound a bit confusing, since in English you use the same you in this case. But if we look at this example, it might be a bit clearer. Jag gillar henne. I like her. You wouldn't say I like she. We need the other personal pronoun, the object version of it. So hopefully now you understood it. So let's look at all of them. First we have mig. Mig would be me. Like in this example, mamma gillar mig. Mom likes me. Pronunciation-wise, you might just need to accept that we write it a bit differently than how we pronounce this word. It's written mig, but we don't say it like that. We say instead mig. Then we have dig. Like in the previous example, jag gillar dig. I like you. Here it's important that you don't say jag gillar du. No, we need to say jag gillar dig. Jag gillar du would be completely wrong. This one is the most confusing one, but it's because English is a bit lazy. You use the same you for both the subject and the object, but not in Swedish. We use du for subject and dig for object. Dig, just like mig, is pronounced a bit different than how we write it. Then we have honom, which is him. For example, in this phrase, jag gillar honom. Here it is like Swedish is playing a little prank on you, because we learned that hon was she, and here honom means him. You would think that that would be her, but no, we don't do it so easy. For us, honom is him. So confusing. I totally understand if you mix this up, because it's really, really weird. So how do we then say her? Well, we say henne. Jag gillar henne. I like her. And again, if you want to be gender neutral, you can just use hen. Hen gillar hen. And of course, it as an object would also be den and det in Swedish, depending on if the thing you're thinking about is an N-word or an S-word. But more about that topic in another video. So let's move on to the plurals. For the word us, we have oss. Pretty similar to English, right? De gillar oss. They like us. Then we have the last you, er. That would be the plural object you. Vi gillar er. We like you. A message to all our followers and students. Vi gillar er. And finally, we come to dom. Jag gillar dom, which is the Swedish word for them. But it's also pronounced as dom. Just like the Swedish they, which was also dom. So remember, dom 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 dom. If this sounds confusing, Don't worry about it. This is actually one of the most common spelling mistakes made by Swedes. They also mix up dom and dom. So after watching this video, now you will even be able to correct some Swedish people. So that was it for today's video about personal pronouns. I hope you found it useful and you won't mix this up so much in the future. So if it helped, don't forget to put a like and subscribe to our channel, because we're gonna do another video about more pronouns such as mine, min and yours, din and other stuff. Hej då, vi ses nästa vecka!